Hello and welcome to episode 43 of Your Ultimate Comeback. I'm Brad. I'm here with my other co-host, Raquel.
Hello.
How in the heck are you?
We're good.
We're good.
As you were just saying, it's hot as...
Crazy hot.
Yes.
Like uncomfortably hot.
Yes. Although I keep thinking about friends and that I have in other parts of the country that would say, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah. Out at the Marietta gym yesterday,
Yeah.
it was 116.
Wow.
That's super hot.
Yeah, it is.
But you go outside, you can just feel the sun.
Exactly.
I was actually like, my son's football game got canceled tomorrow because of
Right.
the heat. I'm like, why would they do that? And when I walked
Yeah.
out today, I'm like, oh my God, I totally
Yeah.
get it. Like, this is the safest thing for the kids. It's pretty gnarly for down here.
Yeah, it is. Although I feel like we get this every year.
It's always around this time.
And people freak out every year.
Yeah.
But we always get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived here my entire life. You have not.
No.
But I have. And this is very typical.
But I've been here since 1998.
Oh, okay.
So I've been here a long time. I'm just glad it's not Santa Ana winds driven heat.
Yeah. Well, we'll get that later too.
I know,
right?
but that's all, so hard on the allergies. My son's
Oh, yeah.
asthma always gets
Yeah.
so bad during that.
I don't think anybody likes that. Well, the surfers might because I think the surf gets good.
Because a good swell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what do you want to chat about today?
Well, I thought we were going to talk about recovery and what that really and truly looks like, not just the concept.
Yeah.
I did a little poll on our Instagram page. Do you prioritize recovery? And it made me very happy that 60% of our respondents said yes and 40% said no. I thought that's trending in the right direction for sure. Now, it might be that we have only 100 followers on that page at this point. So if you don't already follow Your Ultimate Comeback on Instagram, please do give us a follow on there because we are going to put some things on that page that we won't put on other things. I've decided that that's how it should be. Don't you think?
Yes, boss.
So, well, no, just so that it's they have a reason to go
to
there.
it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll share lots of goodies
Yes,
on there.
exactly.
Including our website's almost ready to roll.
Yay.
And on that website is a private podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, that you cannot find it publicly.
access
It's
it,
only
in other words.
accessible, and we dive into some really good stuff.
Do you have to have
in
a
that podcast.
password?
But you got to sign up to get it. But yeah,
Okay.
and you'll be like notified with all our fun things we have
New
coming up.
content that's unique to just them.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
Give our serious listeners some special extra stuff.
I love it.
A lot of good education in that realm. I love the idea about talking about recovery today. I think, and I also want to kind of dive. I kind of a couple episodes ago said that I really wanted to talk about some of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the female metabolism and how I see things.
Yes.
And I think that's really important to help them understand what's really going on.
Right.
But recovery is probably, in my opinion, recovery I think is the most important factor in great health.
Yep.
Because what recovery prevents is fatigue. And what people don't understand is when you're in a fatigue state, you're far from high performing in life.
Yes.
Your body's not working great. Your risk of injury is elevated. Your brain's not working well. Your hormones aren't optimal. Everything's dragging.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's hard to feel.
Yeah. Until you've stepped out of it, and
Yes.
then you can feel the difference for sure.
Yeah, but even in that state, you still can't predict from a heart rate variability standpoint how you're doing. I've been doing it now for 8 years consistently, and there are days I wake up, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah,
I feel great. And I look at my recovery score, and it's garbage. And then there's other days like, oh, I feel so bad. Like, oh, it's going to be a bad day. I look at my recovery, and it's good.
Yeah.
And I know people have had those days, right? Like, oh, I feel so good.
Yeah.
You go to the gym, you start
Yeah.
your workout, and you just tank. And like, what
You
the hell's
can't
wrong?
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you wake up, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to force myself to go. And then you go, and all of a sudden you have a great workout.
Right.
So that's what I like about it is because, one, the Oura Ring, we talk about these all the time.
Right.
They'll tell you, like, don't go today. Like, nothing good's going to come from a hard workout today. But then they'll also say, hey, suck it up and go get your workout in. Like,
I don't
you're
think
ready
I've
for
received
it.
that message. I haven't. I'm being serious. I don't think I have.
No. I'm just saying, when you wake up and you feel like you're dragging, like, oh, this is not going to be good today, and then you see your
Right.
score, it's good. That means
Right.
go to the gym. Like,
Right.
don't be lazy. Like, your
Sure.
body needs the challenge. So really what it's doing, it's just telling you, should I support the metabolism today or should I challenge the metabolism today?
Right.
And when you talk to great strength coaches, the most successful strength coaches throughout history that have worked with athletes, they are really, really focused on only training their athletes at peak levels or really hard levels when the athlete is really fresh.
Right.
One of the greatest guys I learned from is Charlie Francis, worked with the Olympic sprinters.
Okay.
And majority of their workouts were moderate to easy workouts. What he found, it took forever. If they ran 100-meter sprint all out, it took forever to recover from it.
Right.
So he was very strategic around. He did a lot of tempo work, a lot of moderate work, and very selective on the days he would have his athletes train all out. And this is with Olympic level athletes.
Yeah, crazy.
Yet people think I can go work out really hard 2 times a day, every day, and that's what's great for me. And it's just not.
Well, I do think we're getting a little bit of traction. I am hearing good things. People have said to me, I'm listening to the podcast. I love what Brad has to say. I love this. I love the fact that he's addressing things that not a lot of people talk about. And I think it's sinking in for a lot of people. I really do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it is not, it's not generally a 20-year-old that's telling me this. It's someone older.
Right.
And perhaps they have or have not yet experienced what that really feels like, the burnout, what you're talking about, seeing the body kind of backslide or getting into a point where, holy shit, I what's happening? I'm going the opposite direction of what I want to be. I'm not moving forward, I'm moving back. And sadly, it takes some time for something like that to actually show up, for them to, my pants are tighter, I put on 10 pounds and I don't know why, and I'm doing the same things, whatever it is.
Right.
Sadly, it takes oftentimes something like that before people are ready to hear this message.
Yeah, I even see it take more than that, because at that point people think I got to do more. I got
good.
to be more aggressive. I got to eat less food.
Valid point.
It's typically once that's happened and they just get to a point where they feel so bad.
Yes.
They're so tired. They're so wore out. They're emotional. Like they're just something's not right.
Yeah,
is usually what I'll hear.
Yeah.
Something's not right,
and they can't put a finger on it.
My doctor ran my labs, told me I'm fine, but I know I'm not fine.
Right.
That's usually the point where it's like, okay, you are tapped out. Yeah. Your nervous system is shot.
Yeah.
Your body's in an excessive state of fatigue. You can't see that on blood chemistry.
Right.
There is no lab marker that says, oh, you're fatigued. Oh, your nervous system is not doing well.
Yeah.
It's not looking for, it's looking at, all the different metabolic markers, which are, it's very important.
Right.
But a doctor can't see when you're excessively fatigued. They just can't. And stress has been something that Western medicine has kind of like poo-pooed on, like, oh, that's not a real thing. Until you're at a really bad state. Yeah. And it's called Addison's disease. And then you're screwed. Like, at that point, you're no longer making cortisol, so you're in a really bad state. Right. Like, you're done in that realm.
Yeah.
At that point, they say, okay, now we need to support your adrenals. Yeah, now there's a problem.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, too, is another thing you can't tell is when you've been under a lot of stress, it's actually brain fatigue causing the problem. The signaling from the brain to the adrenals to make more cortisol starts to numb out when it's just this constant demand. And so it starts producing less and less, and so you're feeling worse and worse. So it's not really like, it's called adrenal fatigue. Yeah. But it's not really adrenal fatigue. It's signaling of the brain to the adrenal fatigue. Oh. It's the same thing. So much of what happens is the hypothalamus pituitary. Like, for example, when you're a type 1 diabetic, that part of your brain no longer communicates to your pancreas to make insulin. Right. What happened to my body is a lot of head trauma. And there's now a lot of research coming out with football players. You take the wrong hit or a bad enough hit to the head or multiple hits to the head, eventually the hypothalamus pituitary will no longer signal the testes to make testosterone. It just kind of gets severed. It's like just like being a type 1 diabetic. So a lot of the issues are coming from the hypothalamus pituitary, the brain no longer being able to signal well or start numbing itself down because it's like, can't keep up with you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so it's really hard to pick this stuff up on blood chemistry. Yeah. So that's why, like, people go, I'm like, something is really wrong. I had my labs done, and the doctor tells me I'm fine. But I know I'm not fine. That's usually the point where it's like, okay, you are so fatigued under so much stress, your body just can't take it anymore. It's shutting you down. Yeah. And that's typically when people are at that point willing to finally like do what they should. Yeah.
But I do think that even before maybe they're at that point that you're speaking of, I have heard, and I try and send you all the screenshots of people that text me and say things, but I hear it just in conversation too at classes. Like, oh my gosh, I've been listening, and you know what? I'm not doing doubles anymore. Yeah. Or, you know what? I'm trying to be really strategic about how much time is in between the classes that I take or the workouts that I do. And even on that level, to me, that's exciting. It really is, because it's like, it's showing that people are open to it and kind of aware. Yeah. Versus, oh no, not me, not in that category at all. Yeah. And poo-pooing the whole, thought process.
It's there's more awareness around it now than ever.
Yes.
I've been talking this message since 2012.
Yeah.
Imagine this. Majority of my speaking engagements around the world were to groups of men and women that were CEOs or C-suite executives.
Okay.
Super high.
I don't know what that
people.
is. What's C-suite?
C-suite would be like the CEO, the CFO, the COO.
got it.
So the chief executive officer or the chief financial
whatever
officer.
Company.
Yeah, corporations, big
Got
companies. And those people are typically super driven.
Yes.
I'm going to get up at 3 a.m. I'm going to work out really hard every day, like structure, drive.
Yep.
And I come in 2012 through 2020 giving this message that you guys are fatigued, you're tired, that's your greatest enemy.
Right.
That's why you should not get out of bed at 3 to work out. That's actually the worst thing you can do. You should sleep in, you should get this much sleep. And they're like, you're crazy.
Right.
You're off your rocker. You have no idea what you're talking about. And the message was not received well. But if I were to walk in and say, okay, the answer is this, you're going to train 3 times a day as hard as you effing can. You're going to starve yourself till 3 p.m. You're going to cheat your sleep. They'd be like, hell yeah, sign me up for that.
I'm in.
I mean, perfect example is 75 hard. Don't be an effing pansy. You got to train twice a day every day for 75 days straight. You know, slam a gallon of water, do all this crazy shit. And so I was not received well.
I bet.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, COVID hit in 2020. And I had been speaking up to that, and then that happened. And when the world kind of started to come back around and speaking engagements came back up, I can't tell you how many people had hired me to speak for them in the past, called me and said, we understand what you're talking about. We're ready to hear it. Will you please come back and speak to us again?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're speaking, you said 2012 is when you began.
Yeah.
All the way up to 2020, and you weren't well received. Well, how are you continuing to speak and getting engagements if you weren't well received?
No, I mean it wasn't well received.
They
there
weren't
was
following through.
There was always people in the audience that would
got
you don't know what you're talking about.
Like the hecklers at a comedy show.
like which was great because then you know you have a good message. Because if everyone loves your message, you don't have a good message. So there would always be a couple of
people
in the audience
would say you're wrong.
Challenge me, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And my response would always be, how's that working out for you? Because they would look like shit.
Would they? And what would they say?
They're like, well, I just, I'm like, no, seriously, like, how's it working out for you?
Yeah.
I learned.
Was anybody super fit? Was anybody?
Yeah. Okay. So what was funny, here's the funniest thing, was the super fit ones in the room that were kind of experiencing the fatigue.
Yeah.
That would buy in, hire me, really push my message. It was the ones that needed the help that didn't want to hear it. They wanted to hear, I got to do all the hard shit because that was their excuse why they wouldn't do it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that was a lot of it.
Right.
But yeah, it was really interesting after COVID hit and all the stress of COVID and all the stress all the executives went through to survive it. I got a lot of calls. Hey, we're ready to receive your message. Could you come back and reshare that with us? Because all the people that were in this meeting, they're all struggling with stress and fatigue and all the things you talked about. You were right. Please come help us.
Yeah. So did you?
No, because I was like, after I got off the road, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be home with my kids. Like, I don't want to live in an airport or airplanes.
Yeah.
That was really hard on my body the 12 years I did that.
Yeah.
I did a few. I did. There were certain organizations, certain groups that were worth my time to go do. I like quadrupled my price.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I made it work. So I did a lot less, but it was still, and it was really well received. And at that point, and then massive change happened because these men and women were in such a bad state from all the stress they'd been under that they were craving every word and applying it, and it was phenomenal.
So have you had, I assume you have, people that have reached out and said, okay, I've really listened to what you said and I've gone through these steps and protocols that you talked about.
Massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Massive, like game changing.
Really?
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I still, this day, I haven't spoke. I quit all speaking in beginning of 2022. Like just last week, I got an email from a guy that heard me speak 5 years ago saying, hey, I really want your service. Like, can you work with me? And
that's great.
Yeah, so it's been good. Typically, like 1 or 2 people at every speaking engagement would hire me, and I'd work with them, change them.
Remotely, I assume.
All remotely. And then, so what's happened is they see the big change, they get the energy back, the drive back, all those things. And then somebody else notices, what are you doing? I'm like, I hired Brad. So that's been really nice.
Great.
But yeah. But I like the in-person stuff.
Yeah.
I like to be home, be able to get on all my kids' practices and see all their games and all that stuff. So I may go once they're older and out of high school, then maybe I'll go back to do that, or I'll do it periodically. But it was not the life I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's pretty boring, pretty lonely.
Right.
A lot of layovers, delays.
And I would think it could be very unhealthy.
Oh, super unhealthy.
Yeah.
The first year I did it was the worst my health had ever been because I didn't understand how to manage time change.
Yeah.
Because I would fly from like LA to New York, and then there'd be the big time change that I couldn't fall asleep till like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I had to be up at 6 a.m. the next morning to give a half-a-day seminar. And then it was just a wreck. And then I'd come back home. Sometimes I'd fly to the East Coast one day, do a half-day presentation, fly back that afternoon.
Just wrecked.
It raised havoc on my body.
Yeah.
I figured out, but I'm glad I went through it because people that travel, I know how to work with that.
Oh, that's smart.
I know how to manage that. So it's been like really good, especially in my world of athletes that are, traveling in different time zones and stuff like that.
Right.
The CEOs that I still work with that travel a lot. But it all comes down to recovery.
Yeah.
So they're not landing in, a different time zone and going and working out really hard. I'll tell you that much.
No.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to recovery, there needs to be a lot of emphasis placed on it. You can't just put Normatec boots on for 20 minutes and boom, you're magically healed.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, it'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is just not that easy, unfortunately.
No.
You can't just do a cold plunge every morning and boom, you're magically healed. You have to put a lot of emphasis around
But
it.
isn't it funny how those two that you just mentioned are so, then I'm good. I'm good.
I do a cold plunge most mornings.
Yeah.
So here's why I do it. So I wake up in the morning and I jump on my assault bike for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I do the cold plunge. And what it does is, have you ever experienced kind of that sleep? What do they call it? You just wake up, you feel kind of sleepy, and it's kind of hard to get going.
Sure.
There's a word for that, and I can't remember what it is.
Okay. Grogginess is what I would think.
Grogginess, but they have like a fancy word for
fancy
it.
word.
Sleep fatigue or something. I don't remember what it is. But so when you drink coffee, it kind of numbs that down.
Okay.
But the problem is once the coffee wears off, that's why people have a big crash in the afternoon. So they say okay, push your coffee back 90 minutes so you can kind of clear out that chemical, whatever it is that causes that fatigue state, and you don't have the big afternoon crash. The other thing that can help clear that out quickly is exercise and cold exposure. So that's why I do that. I get up because I'm not waiting 90 minutes to have my coffee.
Yeah.
So I do that to help clear that stuff. Okay. So I'm awake and then I have my coffee and I don't crash. And ever since I started doing that, I don't crash in the afternoon.
Nice.
Yeah. So I do that. So I'm not doing it for recovery. Actually, my joints and my stiffness is a lot better since I started doing that.
That's good.
But I'm not doing it for recovery.
Right.
I'm actually doing it to wake up and be alert.
Yeah.
So I don't look so much at cold plunging as being like a recovery tool as much as I look at it as being an alertness, stress resiliency tool. But there was a cool study I came across the other day. It actually showed that if you have one lazy day a week where you just relax, you lay on the couch, you don't do anything, it is incredibly good for your health. Reduces risk of heart attack, like all these risk markers drop if just one day a week you just have a lazy day.
Yeah.
I loved that because it just supports that. I mean, gosh, it says it in the Bible, right? Like
right, yeah.
7th day was for rest,
yes,
right?
For sure.
Whatever that is. But it just goes to show that we've known about this.
Right.
And there's been a lot of emphasis throughout history on a lazy rest day.
It makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So I think everyone should have one of those. But that is so poo-pooed on.
Well,
like you're weak, you're a wuss. Like there's too much you got to get done.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to put and with kids' sports and activities.
I was just going to say, with all of that,
going.
especially when the kids are younger, you're going in 2 different places all of the time, and it's definitely hard. To plug that in.
So if you can't get that in, what do? You got to work it into your schedule.
Yeah.
You got to plan recovery like you plan workouts, like you plan things. Like
makes sense.
You have to, and it could be like simply like a lot of times I'll take a 20-minute nap every day.
Yeah.
As I get home from work, I have like a little break before I take my son to football practice. I'll sneak in. I call it resting my eyes. My son laughs. He's like, "Dad, you don't rest in your eyes. You were asleep."
Yeah.
But it's like 20 minutes.
That's
But
great.
still, I'm getting a little recharge from that. Meditation is a great tool.
Yeah.
You're going for a walk. We're getting a lot of the members of the weight room to walk more, and
That's
they're
great.
seeing the power and benefit of that because there's a lot of science behind that. That helps
And it doesn't have to be a
recovery.
power walk.
No, it is not a power walk.
Right.
It is
It's
a
chill.
relaxing, chill
You're walking
walk.
your dog.
Yeah,
That's
or
it.
you're walking with a friend and talking the whole time. It is a relaxing walk, not an effort walk.
Right.
It is more just to calm the adrenals down. You have to implement strategies into your daily life to cut the stress response. It doesn't just shut off by itself.
No.
You have to do things because we live in such a high stress state that's so stimulated. You got to do things at least once a day to calm that down.
Right.
And it's really powerful. But people aren't integrating that into the schedule. It's just go, 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 do this, get this workout in. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's all stimulating, aggressive stuff. I had one company that hired me to come in to speak. They actually mandated every afternoon at like 3:00 in the afternoon. An alert came up over the loudspeakers. Everyone put their phones on silent. They put couches throughout. And for 20 minutes, people were not allowed to work. They could meditate, they could nap, they had all these places you could do all that with.
And you're not on your phone.
You're not on your phone. You're not, phone calls are going to the voicemail. They're not coming through. You're not allowed to answer emails. You're going to be off your computer, off your phone, and just resting. And it dramatically enhanced performance.
I bet.
It was huge. And people started to look, at first they thought it was super weird.
Of course.
But they weren't strategically putting it in their day. Yeah. Now their owner comes in and mandates it as a mandatory rest period.
Right.
And it was awesome. Yeah, so just to validate, like, it helps to cut away and relax, you know. And if you want to get more strategic with it, okay, you know, a couple times a week, get in a sauna or get a massage or take a longer nap. Like, you got to strategically put things into your daily life and weekly life to calm down. And the better you do that, the better your workouts go, the less issues you're going to have with things like cravings and appetite and all those things that go wild.
Yeah.
One of the very early episodes I talked about, that I learned from Dr. Jay Tita, which I talked to him. We're going to get him on the show one day.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's one of my favorite mentors. It's called SHMEC. If your SHMEC is in check, your metabolism is doing really well. That's sleep, hunger, mood, energy, and cravings. And those 5 things are dramatically impacted by stress. So if your stress is out of control, your SHMEC is going to be out of check.
Right.
And your metabolism is going to be out of check.
Sure.
And so, like, he really validated it as a doctor. Like, you got to get stress under control. And if your SHMEC is out of check, you're not going to outwork that with exercise. You're not going to out diet that. You have to apply strategies to bring the stress response down. So when we talk about rest and recovery, it is the most vital thing in regards to a healthy, high-performing, good-looking metabolism.
Yes. Now, what would you say to someone who, okay, obviously everybody's busy, but they have a specific schedule. Here's their work schedule, right? Let's say a teacher. Let's just talk about someone that's a teacher. So they're probably out of office for workouts, et cetera, between, let's say, 7:30 a.m. and 3:30. Let's just make it that. So unless they go super early in the morning to do something at 6 a.m., and that really isn't going to work because then they're not going to be showered and to their destination by 7:30, then they're likely going to do it after work. So then that pushes everything back. So now they're doing, let's say, a 5 o'clock class or a 5 o'clock workout. That's till 6. They get home. They got to shower. They've got to prepare dinner, eat, all the things. Then they're just, wait, we're just going right to bed? You know, I really do understand people that have these busy, crazy schedules, and they're just like, I'm plugging it in now. I'm just doing it now. I don't have time to not do this because look how busy my schedule is. If I don't get it in now, I never will. So they're doing that 5 days a week, and then on the weekends, they're going hog wild. Hell yeah, I don't work right now, so I'm doubling Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
When they haven't had probably 8 hours of sleep, good sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering what you say to someone like that. Like, where do they plug their recovery day in? They're not going to want to do it on a day that they can truly recover. Do you follow my logic?
Yeah, but the mistake they're making is they're training every day.
Okay, that's what I would think too.
So you train one day, you rest the next day.
Oh, they are not going to do that.
Well, if they're smart, they would.
Okay.
So here is the harsh reality.
Yeah.
I train a lot of professional athletes.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. You've met a lot of them.
I'm not one of them.
You're pretty close. You train like they do. You train smart like they do.
Yes, I have met several of them.
Yes, they are young men and women in their early 20s. Their whole life and their whole job is about their body and how well it works. You want to know what they prioritize most? Recovery.
Yeah.
My professional athletes in the off season, these are men and women that are wealthy, that are usually single, that have people cooking their meal, all those things for them.
Yeah.
They work out 4 times a week for 45 minutes.
And that's it.
And they don't have to go to work. They don't have the stress that some of them have kids and stuff like that. But they have people making their food. They got everything in play for them.
But see, that looks different, Brad. Already, you're talking about someone whose stress levels are lower because they don't have to worry about.
Yeah, so they should be able to handle a hell of a lot more exercise.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes, got it.
Because everything in their life in the off season revolves around recovering from the exercise.
Got it.
So what I'm saying is these people have the most time to recover, and all they can handle is 4 workouts a week.
Got it. Okay.
Past the age of 40, what I found with all of them, they got to cut back to 3 times a week. They can't handle more than that. They can't recover well enough.
Well, I'm here to tell you that when Quinn's been home during the summer, and I've upped my training with you to 3 times a week from 2. It's made a difference.
It's hard.
It is hard. And it's funny because while I'm in it, it doesn't feel like it should be, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think, wow, I'm not doing 20 burpees between everything. In my old mind or old way of thinking, hit, all that garbage. Yeah. Not that it's bad all the time. Sometimes it's okay. But I think this shouldn't be that hard. No, it is.
Yeah.
I get smoked in the way that I'm just, whoa.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I looked at something before we came in today. I track your progression. Mm-hmm. And so I just looked over the last year, how much stronger are you at the back squat? Last year, July, you did your theoretical 1RM for your back squat was 85 pounds.
Okay.
This week, it's now 125 pounds.
Is it really?
So your strength has gone up a lot in the last year.
Yeah.
As you get stronger and weight load gets heavier, guess what has to work a whole lot harder when you're pushing heavier weight load? Your nervous system. So of course it's going to feel harder. It's more challenging to you.
Yeah.
And I think strength is something everyone should be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
But no one does.
No.
But that was just one lift. I just wanted to see one lift. I chose that one because the media
This wasn't the leg curl that I suck at.
Yeah, we got a problem with that one. I think that's a mental block.
I do too.
But media has kind of blown up recently that if you're over the age of 50, you should not back squat, you should not deadlift, you should not do push-ups, and you should not do pull-ups.
No. Come on.
Silly.
Okay.
Stupid shit.
Yeah.
And here I have you at almost 60 back squatting 125 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, it's garbage.
Yeah.
And what's happening is we're getting such bad information on what we should be doing that is causing a lot of problems. If you can't squat, you can't get your ass off the toilet.
Right.
That's the number one reason when people get older, they go into an old folks home. They can't get off the toilet. That is a squat.
Yeah. You're right.
It's not that squat is so bad.
Yeah.
It's that, okay, if you haven't worked out for 20 years, you probably shouldn't walk in the gym and squat. Mm-hmm. Like, no one starts off squatting with us, but we progress them to the point where they can squat.
Right. Yeah.
Because that is a primary movement.
Right.
It's the one movement that has the most carryover to athletic and movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like everyone should be squatting. I don't care how old you are. Mm-hmm. Same thing, the gentleman Randy that's 64, like, he's hitting records on back squat. Now, when we started, he couldn't back squat.
Yeah.
And today, he back squatted 165 pounds.
Wow.
Where 3 months ago, he was back squatting 55 pounds.
Wow.
And struggling with it.
Yeah.
It's not that these things, but as you get stronger, it's harder on the nervous system.
Right.
The more rest you need.
You know what I have noticed though? Since I've been really focused on my sleep, as far as, no, I'm getting to bed by, 9:30, 10:30 is the drop dead time for me. And sleeping till 8 is usually my sweet spot.
That is awesome.
Oh, I love it.
I am so jealous of that.
And I think I used to have clients and I'd go at 5 a.m. and all the things. I used to teach 6 a.m. classes. that is just no for me now.
Yeah.
It really is. But I've noticed I take a lot less naps. I used to nap all the time, almost every day.
That's awesome. You're getting full recovery from your sleep.
Okay, good.
So I have to nap.
Mm-hmm. No, I love naps actually.
Yeah, I prefer not to take them.
Okay.
But if I don't take them, it affects me because I don't get home from football practice. Yeah. So I'm out the door at 5:30 a.m. and I don't get home until typically 8:45.
Yeah, that's rough.
So for me to get out of bed at 5, I can't get home at 8:45 and be asleep in bed by 9.
No, of course not.
So I'm only falling asleep. I go to bed by 10. Mm-hmm. So 10.
That's still good.
I'm still getting 7 hours.
Yep.
But my body needs 8 to really function optimally.
Yeah.
So because I can't get the full 8, I take the nap. It helps me get through my weeks more efficiently.
Good.
When I'm sleeping 8 hours, like the holiday Monday, I didn't have to go to bed till 7. So I slept from 10 to 7.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a client till 9.
Amazing.
I did not need a nap on
Bright-eyed
Monday.
and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, I was super happy, very cognitive. My joints, everything felt great. Mm-hmm. I think people need to understand. I think this is becoming more and more aware. Like, sleep is the most critical component.
Yeah.
If you really want to lose weight, if you really want to have muscle tone, if you really want to have great energy, if you really want to have healthy hormones, all those things, sleep is the most important place to start.
Right.
Because what does sleep provide? Recovery.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It fuels the fire. Mm-hmm. And so if your first stage, in all honesty, if you want to get super healthy or you're struggling, is not more exercise, not a diet, get your sleep dialed in.
Right.
If people just slept 8 hours a night, they say 7 to 9, but I find 8 to be like 8 or more is optimal, 8 to 9. If you could do that within 2 weeks, your life would be dramatically different.
And that's good sleep, right?
Good sleep,
You're not talking about, I took, I drank, to fall asleep, or I popped a pill to fall asleep. You're talking about good sleep.
No, it should be good sleep.
Quality sleep.
Yeah, you sleep 8 hours without waking up.
Yeah.
That's how
I
it's
don't sleep
supposed to
8
be.
hours without waking up. I have to go pee.
Well, it's because you're getting old. But no, I'm just kidding.
It probably is.
I mean, typically, like if you're waking up one time a night, that's pretty dang good.
Okay.
As we get older, it's harder and harder to sleep through the night. But that's the ideal, is to try to sleep, waking up one time or less a night.
Okay.
In that 8 hour window.
All right, I can handle that.
Especially if you just wake up and can go right back to sleep, we're good. Okay. Yeah, but that is that's the game changer. That is more powerful than exercise, more powerful than any diet, more powerful than any peptide or hormone or semaglutide, any of that stuff. It's the most powerful factor. But it's so not sexy.
I know. No one wants to hear it.
Everyone wants the sexy.
I'm working harder. I'm doing more. Killing myself more.
What I love is, like with you and my clients, is they come in and bragging about their sleep.
Yeah.
How much better their sleep is. Like because they grasp, like, okay, that is the most important factor. And they felt the difference with that.
Right.
So like, for example, if you're not sleeping well, you're waking up with more stress hormones in your bloodstream. So you're already off to a bad start.
Right.
And it's going to be harder to exercise. You're probably drinking more caffeine.
Yep.
They show that you're more insulin resistant those days, and you crave more bad food, and you eat like 300 more calories on average those bad days.
Crazy?
Yeah,
it's not protein you're eating. Probably.
No, it's carbohydrates. and your cravings are worse. It's wild.
Yeah.
And they even did a study on athletes, because athletes track everything.
Sure.
And I can't remember which athlete it was. New York Times with this whole article on this guy. And they had so much sleep data with performance statistics with him that when he would sleep less than 8 hours a night versus 8 or more hours a night, it was two different human beings that showed up on that basketball court.
Wow.
He was dramatically better as a basketball player when he slept 8 or more hours a night.
Yeah.
Like percentage-wise, like from field goals to free throws to three-pointers, he was two different human beings. All-star, low-level player. All by that difference of sleep.
Yeah.
That was the only comparisons. They just tracked all his nights of sleep,
right?
And then compared his stats on those days, and then came up with the equation like, holy cow. That's why they're super focused on recovery and sleep and all those things with athletes. It's really interesting. And I'll tell you, like the athletes, they're always ahead of the game in what's the best for the human body and performance. So like HRV, the world's kind of now starting to learn about it. Athletes have been using it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like it's always been this thing that they looked at and were watching. They've known about sleep a lot longer than we have. They've figured out recovery and fatigue as being a bigger issue, a lot earlier than we did as general public.
Right.
Because that world is all about making money off of how the body and brain performs.
Of course.
So that's why I feel lucky that I get to be in that realm. So I'm seeing all that. So I'm typically, a lot of things I bring to my clientele is they've never heard of before. And then, a couple years later, all of a sudden it's shown up in the magazines. Right. And it's not that I'm ahead of the curve. It's just that I'm...
You're working with the elite athletes.
Yeah. So I get to see all the stuff they're exposed to. One of the cool things I've started implementing is called RPR, Reflexive Performance Reset. So one of my good friends works with the San Francisco 49ers, and they do really cool work.
Yeah.
I talked about them, Link Medical.
Yes.
And so I know what they do, and I kind of started paying attention, and they're telling me about Christian McCaffrey's speed coach. So I started paying attention to him, and I heard an interview with him, and he starts talking about what they do with Christian McCaffrey. If you don't know who Christian McCaffrey is, he's probably one of the best players in the NFL.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he's a super freak in regards to what he does. He plays for the San Francisco 49ers. So like I always like to study like who's the best in the realms with athletes I'm working with, and he's one of those dudes. He's just a freak. And
how old?
I have no idea.
Well, 20s, 30s, 40s.
I would guess late 20s, maybe early 30s. He's been in the league for a little bit.
Okay.
His dad, Ed McCaffrey, was a player for the Broncos, so he kind of grew up in the world, and like you hear his interviews, like that's all he knew was eating healthy. Like he's very focused. But the speed coach started talking about what they do with Christian McCaffrey every day, and they kind of mentioned what my buddy does with them, like real quick, and then mentioned this other thing really quick, and then got into all this kind of boring stuff that's like, okay, that's not fascinating.
Yeah.
but I knew what my buddies did, and it's super fascinating. So I'm like, what's that other thing that he just kind of mentioned and then got away from? It's called Reflexive Performance Reset. It's this nervous system activation before training and stuff like that. It's unreal. It's unreal. And so
How do they test that?
It's not a test.
Oh.
It's a system that you use to wake to help kind of activate the nervous system.
Okay.
It's really cool. So I've been kind of playing with that, adding that in. It's kind of more and more colleges are starting to pick it up, but it reduces your risk of injury, helps you wake up and perform at a higher level, kind of alleviates like compensations and musculature and stuff like that. It's really cool. But that's an example of, okay, that's the next thing I've kind of brought to market with the people I'm working with that nobody else has heard of. But I promise you within the next couple of years,
we'll hear about
everybody that has an athlete will have heard of RPR, Reflexive Performance. They'll be doing these weird things.
Sure.
Because it works so well. But that's why that's where I caught on to fatigue and recovery so early, was because all the guys I was working with. I remember I was working with Rep 1 Sports, and every year I'd help a group of athletes prepare for the NFL Combine.
Right.
This was years ago, probably maybe 2013. I don't know. They all got Whoop bands.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioned that on here.
Yeah, so like,
and this is a long time before most people had heard about it.
Oh yeah, this is before anybody heard about it. And I was like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's the Whoop band. It's this new thing they're using." And so right away, like with that group, it's just probably 2013, 2012, 2000, sometime in that realm.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm getting all this sleep data, this recovery data on them. I was like, "Oh, it was fascinating." And I knew about HRV prior to that, but that was like when Whoop band was first kind of making the run in the market.
Right.
So it was cool. So, but that was 2013, and now all of a sudden, what's the big thing, general public? The Whoop band.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I
We're talking about HRV in general.
Yeah. So it's like the stuff comes from the world of athletes. So if you want to know what's coming or what's the best thing to do for your body, start paying attention to what athletes are doing.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, the human body is a human body. I'm 48. I want my body to work as well as it can athletically. I want to be able to go out and like last night in the football practice, we played a game with the kids, the coaches versus the kids. It was fun as hell. I was running around. Like it was great.
Yeah.
I love that I can do that.
Excellent.
And the only way you can do that is to take care of your body.
Right.
And so I'm going to treat myself. I train you just like I train my professional athletes.
Really?
Yes. I mean, they do more speed power stuff.
I was going to say, thank God you don't make me do the speed
power
stuff.
But if you pay attention to how I'm training Quinn when we're training, she's doing a lot of the same things.
Just a lot heavier.
Well, yeah, because she's younger and stronger, but you're still doing the same movements she's doing.
Yeah, you're right.
You're not doing all the plyos and the jumps and all that stuff.
I'm not squatting and jumping at the same time.
No, but you are squatting, you are trap bar deadlifting, you are lunging,
which
you
I
are
used to hate
overhead
trap
pressing.
bar squatting, by the way, and I like it now.
Yeah, because you're strong at it.
Yeah,
it's always more fun to do when you're strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd say I'm strong. I used to feel strong. Now I just kind of feel like I'm treading water. No, I'm serious.
It's because you don't have any data to compare yourself to.
You're probably right.
You don't see what I get to see every day. You're super strong.
Really?
Yeah. For your age.
There's that damn prepositional phrase.
I'm not using that as a slide.
I know.
I'm just saying.
You're right. Yeah.
Find me another woman your age that can back squat 125 pounds. Yeah. Like legit, like 4 seconds down, good depth, fast up.
Right. The tempo is definitely key.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm sure you can jump up and do some pull-ups.
No.
I'm pretty sure you
can do one, probably.
Okay,
I'm really not good at pull-ups.
Okay, fine. You can do one.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe.
Find
it
me.
might be ugly, but I could do it.
But you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're bench pressing like 85 pounds, 90 pounds.
All right.
You have to,
that sounds low.
No, it's super strong.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Maybe it's because I am, most of the time right now I am training with my kid.
Well, yeah.
And I watch her and it's freaking insane.
Well, and I've got to train your kid now for 2.5 years straight? Yeah. Like, of course she's going to be super strong.
Yeah, she is.
She's crazy powerful.
And I love that
she's stronger than I am.
No, she's
Yes,
not.
she is. And I am so okay with that.
Really?
She can out squat me right now.
Wow.
Like I'm good with it. Like
okay.
that's a prideful thing to me when I can take a young athlete and make them stronger than I am.
Yeah.
Like I love that. So like I'm super proud of that. Like I don't think like, oh God, I suck. Like, no, I'm pretty damn proud of myself that I can make your daughter that freaking strong at such a young age.
So most of your young athletes stronger than you?
A lot of them are getting there.
Really?
It's always my goal is I want to have everyone I work with be stronger than me.
Wow.
Because I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
It means that I'm progressing them really well.
Right.
I mean, obviously, most of the time, the older guys older than me, women, I'm going to be able, like, I can still out bench press your daughter.
Yeah. Right.
Like, but like the big compound lifts that have like a lot of carry over to sport, she's trumping me now. Her back squat, her trap bar deadlift.
Yeah.
She's pretty damn strong.
I'm glad she loves it.
Yeah.
I really am. And I'm
Yeah.
also glad she prioritizes her recovery.
Yeah, 100%.
She slept 11 hours the other night.
And I think she's having a massive off season with incredible progression. You can
Yeah.
see it today when I pointed out, like, look how freaking springy your daughter was.
Yeah.
Like, she was getting off the ground in our jump training.
Yeah.
Like, it was sick to watch.
But you know what I think is frustrating for her is she compares herself, like we all do, to
Right.
others.
Yeah.
And she knows that some of these people, she's like, wow, look at them in this tournament. Look how well they did at XYZ, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I know they're not weight training like I am. And I know they're not doing, the things that I am. And so she feels like, gosh, I'm doing all the right things. Why am I not doing that?
Well, because there's genetic components that come into play.
Yeah.
So those athletes probably have more type 2B fiber, the fast explosive fiber. They're just a little more fast twitch oriented.
Okay. That can't be changed?
No.
Okay.
You're kind of allotted what you're allotted. You can enhance it and express it, which she's progressed a lot.
Yes, for sure.
But like everyone has different ceilings when it comes to speed and power and things like that.
Right.
That's why we could, if it were that easy, we could all train and be 100-meter sprinters in the Olympics.
Okay, good point.
There are genetic outliers in every different component that's out there.
Yeah.
So there's always those freaky athletes. And it sucks because a lot of times they're so talented and athletic that they don't really train hard.
Yes.
They're kind of lazy.
Yes.
But those typically don't end up being the best athletes in their sports.
In the long run.
It typically tends to be the ones that are less athletic gifted, less talented, with insane work ethics.
Oh, okay.
Right?
She's good there.
She's really good there. Like, well, I mean, my world is so much football. But
Yes.
Cooper Kupp would not be one of the best receivers in the NFL if it had to do only with athletic ability. Because he's not fast. I mean, he's fast, but he's like nowhere near the fastest.
Right.
He's not big.
Yeah.
He's not tall.
Right.
He's none of the things you're supposed to be the best NFL wide receiver.
Right.
But because of his work ethic and his commitment and his drive and his focus, he is there. He figured out other things. Like, okay, I'm not going to be able to be the fastest guy out there, but I'm going to run the best routes. That is not an athletic thing. That is a
See, that's so smart.
thing.
And I think you mentioned that to me the other day when you were talking about, so find what you are strong at and enhance that. And maybe don't worry so much about the things that you're not as good at.
Every athlete has things they're really good at and things they suck at.
Right.
We all do. Right? I give you a hard time about your hamstring curl, right? Like,
it's kind of bad. It's ugly. I admit
it's okay. Like, but like, you should be really proud of your squat.
Yeah.
Right?
I am now.
Yeah. Like, so when I was a younger athlete, like, I was really good at squatting, really good at deadlifting. I sucked at the bench press.
Really?
I never could reach any. If you looked at my squatting numbers, my deadlift numbers, and you looked at my bench press, you're like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Really?
It was weird. So like, everyone has things they're really good at and things they're not so great at.
Yeah.
And so
I guess I've always thought men were always inherently good at bench pressing.
No, God, no.
No?
No. I mean, they're going to be able to bench press more than most women.
Yeah.
Because
and they can
of
push up to all, it's
well,
great.
yeah, because of the hormonal profile makeup and muscle fiber type makeup is different. But I've read some studies that women that are trained properly can actually do more pull-ups than men typically can. If they're trained appropriately. Their muscle fiber makeup, they're more prone to be able to do that if they're trained appropriately.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of misperceptions around this.
Yeah.
So,
interesting. Okay.
yeah. But kind of got off topic there a little bit. Sorry. But
no, that's my fault.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot around recovery.
Yeah, we did. We did. No. So, try and work it in.
Don't try, do.
Do. Okay.
Like, seriously, like, I'm under a lot of stress on a lot of workload right now. I am training twice a week. And then all my other days, I'm doing things to help with recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know that you combine workout stress with a lot of stress at work.
Right.
It's like sports. Like,
yeah.
If I start exercising too much more, I'm just going to fall apart.
Right.
And there are going to be windows of time in life where things are calmer, you can train more.
Yes.
When things get busy, you got to train less and put more emphasis on the recovery.
Yeah.
It's a give or take.
Yeah.
And what you should be watching to know if you're doing well or not is, what is your muscle mass doing? When you start losing muscle mass, bad things are coming.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so fascinated with strength. And I just want to hit this topic real quick.
Yeah.
Muscle mass is the most metabolically active tissue we have, especially muscle mass that is trained. So if you want an optimal, fast, quote unquote, metabolism, you need more muscle.
Yeah.
It is the base of it enhances your immune system. So if you want a really strong immune system, you have to have muscle mass on you.
Right.
There's studies I'm reading now. The more muscle mass you have, the more you lift weights, the less likely they are have to deal with things like diabetes, like all these different metabolic things that are happening. If you lift weights, you're less likely to deal with those. It's powerful. My problem with the industry, especially around the female metabolism, is they're pushing things that strip off muscle mass in the name of weight loss.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so against a lot of high intensity training, a lot of cardio training.
Right.
It's because a lot of that weight loss, up to 20% of it can be muscle mass. And the problem with that is when you stop or your hunger takes over and you start eating more, you now have less muscle mass. So you actually have a slower metabolism and it ends bad.
Yeah.
That's my biggest worry with things like semaglutide, the Ozempic and stuff like that.
Yeah, that needs to be really monitored very carefully.
Yes, because so much of the weight loss coming from that, I think
40%.
Yeah, 40% of that weight loss can be muscle mass.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And eventually you're going to have to back off that stuff.
Yeah.
And your appetite's going to come back.
Right.
Well, now when your appetite comes back, you have 40% less muscle mass on your body. That means your metabolism is a hell of a lot slower. But once you start eating more and your metabolism's a lot slower, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
It can get ugly. So you got to kind of strategize around these things and worry about these things. So anything that people in general are doing that's causing muscle wasting or muscle loss is scary to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I know if I'm highly stressed, I start exercising too much, I know what happens to me. I start losing muscle mass.
Yeah.
It starts going away. So I have to back off to maintain that.
Right.
And so that's kind of my big, and when you recover well, it's easier to maintain muscle mass.
Yeah.
Because within that recovery, what's happening is the rebuilding and the structure of the muscle that you just tore down from your workouts, if you're lifting weights. So all this stuff we're talking about helps maintain that muscle mass. And to me, that is the most important component to a healthy, high-performing, well-lived, long life.
Yes. And I think finally we're getting through to females that muscle mass does not mean you look like,
oh my gosh,
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, no, for
that
real.
used to be a thing.
100% it did. And it was all fear tactics.
I know.
And it's funny because it is so hard to put muscle on.
I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
No, for real.
And I'm here to tell you as a man, I've tried my whole life to do it.
Yeah.
It is so damn hard and it is so easy to lose it. You're not going to just lift weights and get bulky.
Yeah. Well, there are certain people, I will say, genetically, they may feel like that they lean towards that.
I've seen one in my whole career.
Really?
I had one woman in my whole career that I dealt with that.
Really?
And I had to do things to blunt the muscle recovery response after the workout to prevent that. I've seen one.
Interesting. Okay.
So are they out there? Yes, they are.
But not as many as we think.
Not as many as we think. Now, some women will lift weights and put a little muscle on, but they're not losing body fat.
Right, so they freak out.
They feel like they're getting bigger. But it's because the body fat's not coming off.
Right.
They're not getting big muscles and bulky. It's just the body fat's not coming off. And that's typically a lifestyle scenario, like more walking, less stress, more strategic nutrition, eating more protein, things like that. To put muscle on, you have to eat so much damn food.
Yeah.
You got to lift heavy.
Yep.
You need good optimal hormones.
Yep.
So what's happening is these women have seen women on hormones, on drugs, that turn big and bulky.
Oh, are you talking about like competitors that are
competitors? There's those big bulky women.
Right. But that's strategic. They want to be that way.
They want to be that way.
Sure.
They've done that. It's not because they lifted weights that they look like that.
Right.
There's
did
a
lot of other things.
Components to look like that. Even most men now that are influencers that have these crazy bodies that look crazy.
Right. It's not just...
that is not hard work and good diet. That is, you're working hard. Your diet's probably decent, but you're on a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
So I just want to it's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
I've never been able to get a woman big and bulky.
Yeah.
I've never been able to do it.
Yeah. I think what you hit the nail on the head, though. They start to get some muscle mass and their pants are fitting tighter because they have not lost the body fat. I've heard that from women before.
Yeah. That is
they want to be skinny fat.
Yeah.
That's easier. They fit their clothes better.
But the problem with skinny fat is you're losing muscle mass to get that.
Yeah.
And that is very dangerous in the long run. It's unhealthy. It's dangerous. You're going to end up in a yo-yo effect because as soon as your appetite comes back, you start eating more food.
Right.
You're now consuming more calories. The metabolism doesn't work as well. And your weight's going to shoot up. Yeah. So that's where you see, this is the whole response behind the roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Lose all the weight, put all the weight back on or more. Lose all the weight, put all the weight back up or more.
Or more.
It's usually more.
Yes.
It's because of that factor. So when you train muscle, for muscle mass, you don't see that.
Yeah.
You should be able to go on vacation for 10 days, 14 days and live it up and have your weight not change.
Yeah.
that's a sign. When you can do something like that, that's a sign you're in a really good spot. You're super healthy, metabolism good spot. I don't know. I'm going to just beat this one
Beat the dead horse.
into a pulp of
absolutely.
like muscle mass matters so much. And VO2 max matters as well. But how do you develop a good VO2 max is you got to get a good low level cardio base. So people should in the beginning should do like 180 minus their age and train like that. 20 to 40 minutes a few times a week. And then once you have done that for a couple months, one time a week you can do VO2 stimulating intervals, which is like you go as hard as you can for 4 to 8 minutes and then rest for 5 minutes and do it again. And try to do a couple of those one time a week because it takes a long time to recover from those. We're watching your daughter go through that when she's doing something similar. So like, but once a week because it takes a long time to recover from that. So that's kind of the strategies I like to use because VO2 max is very important for longevity, but now they're showing muscle mass is very important as well.
Yes,
Those are the top two. So
and then recovery.
But if you're not recovering, your VO2 max is not going up because there's a lot of correlation between high VO2 max and high HRV. So if you're not recovering well, your body's not recovering well, you're not getting better from all the stimulus. Your exercise is a distress versus a eustress. What that means is distress is the stress is causing the body to break down. Eustress means you have enough reserve and you're recovering well enough from the exercise that you are getting better from it.
Is it eustress? YOU?
EUSTRES. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's either a distress or a eustress. Distress means it's causing harm. Eustress means it's challenging the body and making it better.
Got it. Okay.
The only way that happens is having reserves and recovering well. If you're not recovering well, it's a distress. You're actually getting worse.
It's amazing how many components go into this.
It's massive.
Right?
I've been studying this stuff now since 1998 is when I started as a trainer. And I'm at a point now where I realize I hardly know anything. I have so much to learn.
Right. The more you learn, the less you know.
Oh my God. And it is absolute truth.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to figure out better ways and more strategic. I think I have a good system from the people I've learned from. But there are loopholes in it. I'm like, what the hell? Like, how do I fix that? Like, how do I find that solution? And then always somebody will show up periodically and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I've never seen this before. So it is a very intricate system. It's not just go work really hard and eat less food and you win. It isn't. It is not the answer. And if things aren't going well, it's not, well, I just got to go work out harder. That is never the answer. The answer is never just go work out harder. I wish it was because that's the easiest thing for me to do.
Yeah, of course.
But unfortunately, it's the least impactful thing to do. And probably the most detrimental thing to do. So, beauty.
Good stuff, Brad.
Good talking to you.
Thank you. See you next week.
Here's to rest and recovery.
Yes. Amen.
Cheers.
Okay, thanks. Bye.